What is good, basketball fans? Welcome back. Welcome back to a wonderful trade deadline grading and breakdown edition from the Valley Podcast. Coach Evan B in the house.
Champs are here.
What's going on? Well, we don't, here in Phoenix, we don't feel like champs as of late after taking that L to the Magic. But dude, this is like basketball Christmas for every NBA sports fan, right? You never know. You might wake up and Santa might have left you, I don't know, Aaron Gordon, under the tree. So we didn't get that. The Nuggets got that. You guys in the chat, we've got 19 in here already. Please, this is a different show today. Go ahead and just shout out. Like, what trades do you guys want us to talk about? Where do you guys want to take it? First, I guess, why don't we go Aaron Gordon, Coach? What do you think of him now that he's on the Nuggets?
So we're lucky enough. We're going to have Stephen Priest come in from Breaking the Glass podcast over in Denver. Or is it Behind the Glass? Oh, my gosh, I keep doing that. I got it stuck in my head. But anyways, you guys need to go check him out. We'll share their link. But he's going to come on with us. He was on the show earlier in the year. He is all hyped about it. He is all game. They got Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon, Paul Millsap, Will Barton, Jamal Murray, Jokic. They say goodbye to Gary Harris, which, considering what you're getting in return, is fine. But I'm curious how this is going to work out because MPJ and Aaron Gordon is a whole lot of no defense that's going to be played out there. I did see a stat that when Aaron Gordon gets the ball, when he's running into the lane, so when he's cutting or something like that, he's finishing at like a 72% rate, which is, I want to say it was like third or fourth highest in the league, which they don't have. Now they can do another pick and roll option, another guy that can pop out and shoot the three, but I'm curious how they're going to be able to mesh all together because I know that they loved Gary Harris, but then you add JaVale McGee on top of that too. That's a big team, dude. That is a big, lanky team. They got Bol who won't even play. First off, they're going to start Jokic, Aaron Gordon, and probably MPJ, I would imagine.
That's a big lineup.
If not, they're going to have Paul Millsap start. I don't know. But then they got McGee or MPJ come off the bench too, and all we have is Saric right now. And I guess Kaminsky to a point. I mean, I think you got to consider playing Kaminsky when you play a team like that that's long and lanky. But I'm officially scared of Denver now. I am not going to lie.
Okay, that was going to be my next question. What did this, in your opinion, first glance? Now, of course, we're going to get a chance to talk with Steven from an actual Nuggets podcast. So we'll get into that a lot more. But just first glance, you're more threatened now.
Absolutely. I'm more threatened at the potential now. I mean, JaVale McGee is still going to do some of the dumbest things you've ever seen on a basketball court, right? So there's that potential. There are games that we've played against him where he looks like a damn all-star. He'll get 16 points, 7 blocks, and 8 rebounds, and then he'll play 19 minutes and get 5 rebounds and 2 points. You know what I mean? Aaron Gordon, being the number 2 option in Orlando, obviously wasn't working as well as they thought, but playing 32 minutes and still only averaging 15 points and 6.7, close to 7 rebounds isn't eye-popping by any means. He's only 6'8". It already looks like he's getting the Blake Griffin syndrome where he can't dunk and it's going. It happened to Amari. It happened to Sean Kemp. It just happens to these dudes. So I'm more threatened about the possibilities as opposed to I just want to know how they're going to work everybody in. Is it going to take some time for them to build? Are they going to click the last 2-3 games of the season? Is this just going to be a dumpster fire? Looking at it with the names that they brought in, I'm scared. I don't want to play them. I will lose games on purpose to not match up with them, even in the second round.
Wow.
On paper, just looking at it, obviously things happen. So that's my takeaway.
Personally, I don't know what I think of it yet, to be honest, man. I guess I'm going to have to see it on the court, but you bring up a great point. They are tall as hell now, bro.
Tall and lanky, and they can shoot.
That's the one thing we've been clamoring for. Why don't we shelve the Denver talk?
Because Steven's going to come on in about 15, 20-ish minutes. So I'm curious to get that. We're going to talk heavy Nuggets soon since that was the big move in the Western Conference.
We don't even have to go too much into the Suns right now. We're going to have Spurs fan Gary on pretty soon here. Also, got a couple of guests tonight, guys. We're churning them out here. All right, so we're gonna have a Spurs follower who bets on Spurs, bets on Suns, bets on every game, and he has got his ear to the grindstone. He is going to be able to give us the best advice on what's going on with LaMarcus Aldridge and the clearest cut. I will take his word on what's going to happen over LaMarcus Aldridge very seriously. So let's wait on LaMarcus Aldridge.
Does he have a Twitter by chance? I don't know if I'm following him or if he just doesn't have one.
I don't think he has a Twitter. He did, but he got rid of it.
Okay.
He just was not active on it. But I want to talk about Drummond. Let's get the Sun stuff going first, and we'll get to everything. We will get to everything, but Drummond is honestly looking like he's going to be the one that we pull if we pull anyone. You know,
hold on one second. I can handle it. My son wants my iPad. Hold on.
I can handle it. So I put LaMarcus Aldridge in the thumbnail because I thought it was funny. I thought that's a funny old pick. But I don't know that that's going to be the move that gets made. Everybody is making it seem extremely likely that he goes to Miami. Is everybody in the chat getting that vibe? What's going on, Cove Hoops? So let me shout out the chat before we go into Drummond and that. We've got Reese in the house. What's good, brother? Cove Hoops. Sorry, Coove. And Dames Go, Brian Scalabrini, the whole Blazers Uprise is here. We appreciate you guys. You know we do. Iverson Vlogs, Roy. You know, it was just last night we were hanging out with you guys, right? Belgian Blazer. Gary, who's coming on, everybody, man, Shervin, appreciate you guys being out here. So, Coach, what I'm saying here is it doesn't look like we're going to get Aldridge, but I personally am holding out hope because I'm old enough to remember last night when I was told that the Lakers were getting thick boy Lowry. Right? And that shit didn't happen. I mean, the way that the NBA, the way that Woj, the way that Suns Geek or Suns Woj, if you was making it sound was like there is literally a 0% chance that this dude is going to be on the Raptors in the next day. And he is. He's not going anywhere. I'm very happy that the Lakers didn't get him, but I'm just not willing to believe that we can only get Drummond, that LA isn't going to look at Phoenix and give us another look. He made the wrong decision going to the Spurs over us in the first place. This is an opportunity for him to resurrect that.
Max.
Outside of the beach and the no taxes, which is kind of nice, I just feel, I don't know, man. I think that the Heat and the Suns have an equal likelihood, however high or low that is, of winning a title this year. I think we're kind of on the same playing field, right? Because they're in the East and they were there last year. Okay. So I think they have just as good of a chance as us. Maybe we have a little bit better chance though, you know? And with CP3 and Booker, I just think that that's more firepower to play with than, I mean, what do you think, bro? Like, what do you think about Aldridge at this point?
I think I just don't know if he's just I don't know if he's going to do it. I really don't think it's going to happen. Do I want one of them? I do. I'll take LaMarcus Aldridge. I'll take Drummond. And these were the guys we were talking about beforehand. We didn't think a move was going to be made. If we did, it was going to be low class, low tier. Our low tier move ended up being Torrey Craig, which for me, that pretty much put us out of the trade deadline speculation unless something magical came up. You know, Jeff Teague is out there now. He just got traded and is going to get bought out too. So Jeff Teague is an option. Do you want to go after him for backup the way Campaign played the last few games? He played decent in Miami. It was awful last night, but that's a guy you could bring in maybe. I don't know. That intrigues me to a point, but I think I might prefer more Drummond than Aldridge. And I've gone back and forth even on the show so many times. I don't know. And when I don't know, that's probably my gut telling me like, it's just a no all the way around because I don't know which one I want. Only the Suns are going to know which one are going to fit better with them. But then do we have a chance? Because now we're hearing Drummond is definitely for sure going to the Nets, or he's going to go to the Lakers too. So I just assume that Miami, the Lakers, and the Nets are going to be the front runners for any of these dudes, and we won't have a chance. And who we have is who we have. And I just feel like, as a Suns fan, we have who we have. It is what it is. We need to roll with these dudes who have changed the culture.
No. In fact, and this is just my personal opinion.
Oh my, you should be banned from talking basketball.
All right, because we do not need to roll with what we just have. You just last night were telling me how bad we need another backup big. I was telling it to you. You were telling it to me. Salty was telling it to us. Bro, we're tiny. God forbid anything happens to Ayton. God forbid he gets popped for PEDs again, or I don't know, sprains an ankle. If it can happen to LeBron, it can happen to Ayton. We are shit out of luck completely if Ayton goes down. We don't even have Baines.
Yep.
Frank Kaminsky slides in and gets those starting minutes. Do you like that, Coach? Does that make you feel no?
I just don't think they're going to do it.
I'm just saying do anything. Get Drummond if you have to. I'm just saying you got to do something. You cannot pass this entire situation up and not grab anyone. I really feel like one of those two dudes is coming to Phoenix. I will agree. It seems like it's going to be Drummond over Aldridge. It's just a damn shame because I personally don't believe that is a fit unless you rotate those two bigs. And I don't know that Drummond wants to come off the bench to DA. And I don't know that he should have to. I do think that Ayton's more talented. So yeah, but bro, he's a paint clogger.
I completely agree. I just don't think it's going to happen. I think LaMarcus Aldridge is going to go to the Heat, and I think Drummond is probably going to go to the Lakers or the Nets. I just don't think it's going to happen. So when I'm saying like we just need to roll with who we have, like I think that's just our option. Because I don't think we're going to pick up anybody. And it's unfortunate, and it is what it is, but I'm trying to not get disappointed and trying to be very optimistic with the guys that we have and who have changed the culture. But it's underwhelming because it felt like we had a semi-shot here. It felt like we had a shot here. And so it's very underwhelming to come out of this with nobody. I am happy we got Torrey Craig. I don't think anybody's going to be upset with that move. It definitely puts us an extra little tier above. If you think of us as a B team, well, we're a B plus team now. You know what I mean? But it's underwhelming. We didn't win the draft day trades. You know, that's always the sexy pick and always the sexy feel. We're the guys that went out and got the James Harden or something, right? But we want that up feeling, you know, whatever. And we didn't have it. We didn't get it.
It would have been really nice to get that endorphin rush, right? You wake up, you take a look. Oh my God, the sun's got, but that's fine. We're not in a position like every other year where that's really even that important. We don't need to give up anything that we have. What we have works. Have we had anything like this as far as a team working this well right before the trade deadline? Like, it's been forever, man. Like, even in those Nash years, there was a couple of people who you could be like, yeah, he's kind of a waste of space. There really isn't any wastes of space on our roster. And it's working. It's clearly working. It doesn't work against shit teams like Orlando. Go ahead, man. You're good if you got it.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
And it's not. However, you're staring at an opportunity for LA and LMA and Drummond. You got to pull the trigger on one of those guys. It has to happen. Unless you're going to go get Big Sauce, which for whatever reason, they're not going to do. I'll be happy with Big Sauce. I'll be happy with shit, man. Like, we're not big enough, Coach. That's just what I'm saying. Phoenix Suns fans know this. Everyone agrees. James Jones knows it. So we got to get one of those guys.
If it doesn't happen, I'm just prepping myself, and I don't think it's going to, unfortunately. If something comes out tomorrow, I will be more than ecstatic. I really will be.
Plus, the Heat just got Oladipo. So it's like, are we going to compete with that? Or are we just going to watch the Heat get stacked?
We just talked about Denver, Portland just landed Powell for Gary Trent Jr. And then Nurkic is now coming back on Friday. Tomorrow, Nurkic is back from his wrist or hand injury. I forget which. And then the Clippers went out and made a deal for Rajon Rondo. So Rondo's back with an LA team. They got rid of Lou Will.
They gave up Lemon Pepper Lou, who really had to leave. Like, ever since he went to that strip club in the bubble, shit has not been the same for him and the Clippers, right? So
ever since they got Kawhi, things haven't been the same for the Clippers. Come on.
You're right. I just think that's an upgrade for the Clippers. Isn't it fun to get to talk NBA sports without any, like, we don't have to worry about like pissing people off because we're not talking Suns.
NBA Central just tweeted out there is increasing momentum towards LaMarcus Aldridge joining Miami.
Can you send it to me? I'm really not happy about that, but send it to me.
Yep.
So, Johnny here says, yeah, our bigs, Ayton, will get beaten up in the playoffs. I totally agree, man. Like, he'll do his work. I think Ayton will get his in the playoffs, but he needs to rest. You saw what he looked like when he was dog shit tired at the end of the game. He played a lot of minutes, and he did not look good in crunch time. We have to have another wave, bro. We have to have another wave. Some other heavy 7-footer who can protect the paint when Ayton is either tired or, God forbid, goes down. Reading right here, I like what this says. Aldridge plans to talk with several teams before finalizing a decision.
That was almost 4 hours ago, 3.5 hours ago, though. Things move quickly, especially when
I know. I'm saying he's probably talking right now. He's talking as we speak, probably, to James Jones. Just kidding. We whiffed on JJ Redick. There was a lot of heat last night. Salty brought up that the Suns were going to have a good opportunity to get JJ Redick.
And he goes to Dallas. Damn.
Goes to Dallas.
Yep, that's right. I forgot about that.
For ugly ass cocaine addict, allegedly, James Johnson. So we whiffed there. Daniel Theis, we never talked about Daniel Theis or Theis.
I never really viewed him as a dude that I would want on this team, being another undersized big guy, because I wanted a legit big man. That's why.
I would have been happy if he's all we could have gotten, as opposed to us potentially moving through this period doing nothing. I'd rather have Daniel Theis than nothing.
I'm just glad we played Miami when we did, and we don't play them now. We're going to play them at home again, but
agreed. Now, here's where things get funny, because Spurs fan Gary's coming on, and they're picking up Marquise Chris for cash. I mean,
you can't make this shit up.
he's not going to be dumb enough to think that Chris is really going to do anything, but it is kind of funny to watch one of your former high picks go to the Spurs, man, of all fucking people.
And the Thunder have announced the release of Myers Leonard.
Does that move the needle for you as a backup big?
You were not bringing him in after his Twitch comments and everything that went on.
Oh, you're right. You're right. He's
that's a no.
Canceled. Yeah, I can't imagine the Suns doing that. I totally forgot about that.
Definitely not.
He's the guy that did that. You're right.
Idiot.
So, let's see. Kyle Lowry.
Before we get any of these other Western Conference dudes on, can we talk about your boy Zach LaVine and my boy Nikola Vucevic playing together now in Chi-Town? I thought they were also going to go out and get Lonzo Ball, and then I would have been like, yo, Lonzo Ball and Vooch and LaVine was going to be crazy. What do you think of LaVine and Vooch now?
I think that the Bulls made themselves better. They didn't give up Lauri Markkanen, right?
No, he's still there.
So they still got him. They did give up Wendell Carter Jr.
That's fine.
That's fine, because Vooch is a clear-cut upgrade over him. That's really like the poor man's version of getting DeAndre Ayton for Vucevic. I bet you they tried. I bet you anything they asked James Jones, hey, you guys saw what Vooch does to you. You want him for Ayton? And Jones was probably like, nah, bro, I'm sorry. I just can't do that. So they're like, who's next? Let's go get him from – I guess we'll take Wendell Carter, who's kind of like a poor man's Ayton. Not really.
I have a thing here from Hoop Central tweeted out a few minutes ago saying that the most points scored in the fourth quarter this season is Zach LaVine with 301.
Damn.
Crazy.
Special shout out to Saltiest Gaming. Guys, he's getting ready. He was going to be on with us, but he's getting ready for his Big Man's podcast. He's got a lot more viewers than this. So, can't blame him. He's got to get ready for his thing. Good to have you in the chat, though, Salt, man. Senior Sodium, for the record. So, Belgian Blazer says, take it from a Blazers fan. Myers also isn't good on the court. Yeah, totally. I mean,
we don't want dude anyways. What sucks is that we have to play the Celtics again. They got Fournier. We got to play the Heat again with Oladipo and their additions, and we've got to play the Bulls again with Vucevic. So that sucks.
Kuv Hoops is saying he thinks it's a bad trade for Rondo and Lemon Pepper. So
who
I don't know. I think whoever got Rondo, especially since the Clippers got Rondo, that makes them more dangerous in the playoffs, man. He's a playoff player.
Outside of Denver, who got more better? That's not
more betterer.
Who got betterer out of these three teams? Was it Portland, Dallas, or the Clippers?
Portland, Dallas, or the Clippers? Yikes. What did Portland do again? They got
Powell.
They got Powell. Norman Powell is actually kind of sneaky good. So
they did trade Gary Trent, but I'm pretty sure he was a free agent after this year anyways.
Of those three, bro, I'm going to go with the Blazers. I actually think the Blazers. What do you think?
I think so. I just don't think it's working in Clipper land right now. With Paul George and Kawhi, I just don't think it's working. I could be proven wrong. I hope I'm not wrong because the Suns are good this year, but I would have to agree. The dude is shooting like 42 or 43% from three, averaging just over 18 or 19 points. It just gives them another option, man.
You know who he kind of reminds me of, man, is Middleton. As far as talent level and ceiling,
he's like 6'3". I was like, how does that remind you of him?
No, just because they're like not A-list players, but they're really, really effective. I don't think of Middleton as an A-list player. I think of him as like a B minus who's like really helpful. Yeah. Same thing with Norman Powell. You're not turning on Norman Powell highlights, but if you have a chance to get him on your team, he's gonna damn sure make your team better immediately.
So Gabe Martinez real quick had an interesting comment in the chat. Kawhi to Phoenix next season confirmed. Did you guys see that ESPN report, or I forget who did it? It was like 2 weeks ago, saying Kawhi is just getting more and more uncomfortable there. Look for the Suns next year or the year after to be the dark horse for getting Kawhi. It's still close to LA or closer to San Diego, and they could trade a guy like Mikal Bridges for Kawhi. And I was like, first off, it's just nice being mentioned in things like that.
Good point.
But I think that's something to maybe keep an eye on is the growing animosity in that Clippers locker room. I mean, Lou Will, you just mentioned it. Montrezl Harrell was not happy there. He wanted to leave. Everybody was talking ish on the Clippers last year, how Kawhi was taking a damn helicopter to all of his practices. All these weird things was going on. So I could see it. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibilities, but it's just nice to be mentioned and things like that. Does anything pop off when I say something like that, Gabe, with Kawhi and the Suns?
Dude, I would I'd sell probably everything I own if I thought that we could get Kawhi. And my first reaction is like, well, do we want Kawhi considering what a headache he seems to be? Like this guy doesn't want to play every game. He went in there and completely ruined that Clippers culture. He was supposed to be a culture fixer, but he and PG-13 go in there. They want special treatment. They don't want to show up to practice. I mean, apparently Kawhi is late to game, like late to the plane. He's always late. I don't know, man. But at the same time, as talented as he is, I feel like we'd be fools not to give it a try.
I trust Monty and James Jones, man.
But if he comes in here,
it's a culture change for him too, right?
If he comes in here like, all right, I'll come to Phoenix, but I want this guy. You got to trade this guy, and I ain't showing up to practice, and I ain't showing. It's like, I thought your parents were military, bro. Like, where's your home training? Like, who taught you how to act in a professional setting? I mean, maybe it's all just them talking shit on Kawhi because it's a LeBron town. But yeah,
but things ain't happy there.
Of course we want Kawhi. But if you're close to this, if you follow that situation closely, it ain't peachy. There's a reason why there's rumors about Kawhi potentially leaving, because things are going bad. It's not the Clippers. They are bending over backwards for this dude. They got rid of everyone that he wanted rid of, and they still aren't making.
And they
it
signed,
work.
and they traded for Paul George. They got dudes that they wanted.
Yeah. So
that he wanted. Excuse me.
Roy says, "What if we get Vincent Poirier?
I don't really know. I don't know much about him, honestly.
Dude, I'll take any 7-footer at this point. I don't care. Just give me a 7-footer behind him. Bring back Damian Jones if you need to, bro. We're not big enough. And Kaminsky doesn't really count as a big, in my opinion.
Man, and you can waive Tyshawn Alexander. I don't really care about him. I mean, Jalen
Really have
LeCue.
An open spot?
No. Jalen LeCue got dumped today, but it's just these dudes at the end of the bench that have talent. I don't know. They're not moving the needle. So we need a player. I would waive Tyshawn Alexander. So that's who I would waive. I wouldn't waive Carter or any of. I wouldn't waive anybody else.
Belgian says things were good in Toronto, though, weren't they? Of course they were good in Toronto. They bent over backwards all year for him. You know, he never had to show up if he didn't want to, didn't have to play when he didn't want to. You know, obviously his talent outweighs all of that shit. So, I mean, it's
a players' league, man.
It is, you know. So Jalen LeCue, Roy brings it up. You brought it up. He got released today by whoever it was that had him. I can't remember. Do you guys want Jalen LeCue back? I do.
Doesn't matter. He doesn't do anything, so that doesn't matter.
He was the one that hurt the most when we did that trade. Not the most, but kind of. That was the one where I was like, damn it, I can't believe we really had to give up LeCue. Do you know about Jalen LeCue, bro?
Absolutely.
You should, because you're a draft expert and you actually do research on players coming out of college. So tell me what you think about Jalen LeCue and why he's not important on the Suns.
Dude is sick. Dude is a playmaker. He's lightning fast. Whenever I saw him actually play NBA time, he looked a little deer in the headlights, but super young. And if you guys haven't seen, Jalen LeCue can just jump out of the gym, and the gym that gym is in. He is absolutely freaky athletic, but I just don't see him getting playing time over anybody. So it doesn't matter to me. And that's what it comes down to. Playing time, and are you going to contribute? And by the way, Steven's going to get on in about a minute or two here, so be on the lookout.
Okay. Gary, let me know when you're ready, and I'll send you an invite as well. So my thing with LeCue, I have kind of like an affinity for Suns drafted players, if you couldn't tell. You know, I tricked myself into loving Dragon Bender. I tricked myself into loving Marcus Chris. Archie, all of them, bro. When we draft somebody, I want for us to really get a chance to get the best out of him. And I don't think we even scratched the surface of developing him. He barely got to play. And I cannot think of a better player in the NBA that I would rather Jalen LeCue learn from than Chris Paul. Because Jalen LeCue has all the athletic ability of Westbrook, literally. But he didn't have the mental. Can you imagine CP3 teaching him how to run pick and rolls with his athleticism, teaching him how to pick apart defenses and be a true point guard? Teach him a little anything. Like it's like a raw QB who you bring in, and you're like, this dude has all the talent, and we've got, I don't even want to say it, but you remember how Alex Smith tutored Mahomes for a whole year? What if CP3 could have some sort of I mean, Mahomes was going to be Mahomes regardless, right? He didn't need Alex Smith, but I don't think it hurt. I think it really helped him, because if he had come to the Bears, we would have ruined him. I'm certain of it. But Could CP3 help LeCue actually become his potential?
This is your fandom coming out. This is your fan. This is your heart showing on your sleeve right now, or your feelings on your sleeve, whatever the saying is.
You know what I should probably do?
Stay off the weed.
Right?
That's that.
Is that what you're basically getting at?
He's not going to play and contribute, so I don't care. And I think it's a waste of time to talk about him.
Fair.
And I wish him the best of luck. Don't get me wrong. I wish him the best of luck. From when he did a few interviews and watching him jump out of the gym, I know he was a star for the Northern Arizona Suns. May they rest in peace. But he's just not going to contribute to a championship team, and that's where my mind is at.
Fair. We just didn't do anything. So
what they should do, they should sign him and Tyshawn Alexander and have them play to 21 and say winner gets to stay on the bench.
Now that's hilarious.
I would pay to see that.
I thought you were going to say sign them both and send them to the G League, and see which one does better. But
no, the G League's over, so you got what you got. You can't send anybody down and get a roster spot now. But no, roll the ball out. No, play to 30 by ones and twos.
So no Kyle Lowry going anywhere. We don't get Redick. We whiff
no Lonzo Ball going anywhere either.
Yeah, Ball stayed.
Out of anybody that was going to get traded, he had the most hub before the trade deadline.
Yeah. Roy here is saying, would Drummond play as a bench player for the Suns?
He'd have to.
He would have to.
Now, if he comes in 3 games in a row and puts up 20 rebounds, already shows how to play with Chris Paul, we'll have a different conversation. But he has to start with. He doesn't know the plays. He doesn't know the rhythm. They're in the middle of a East Coast road trip. Like, he just has to. Gabe Vaughn or Captain Planet would always win.
Captain Planet's got powers,
He's Captain Planet.
I know. All right. Moving on. Any other big time? We got to Rondo. We got to Lemon Pepper Lou.
Let's touch on JJ Redick to the Mavs real quick. Does that scare you at all to play them anymore? That's like replacing the shooting of Curry from Seth Curry, right? That replaces that shooting, gives them more championship depth, I guess. I mean, their defense is just going to be absolutely atrocious. But does that scare you at all as a 6, 7, 8 seed, possibly playing them?
I'm going to be completely honest. Yes. And here's why. Because the Mavericks are fucking tearing shit up right now.
They are.
It's not like they're the same Mavericks that we put in the dirt a couple of times this year already. They're actually playing well. Luka's playing well. My boy Porzingis, future Phoenix Suns all-star, Kristaps Porzingis, who I play Ark. I tamed a unicorn. I named him Kristaps. Okay, this is my guy. He's playing well. They're playing well. And now they get Redick, and we whiff on Redick. Shout out to the chat, man. We had 45 people in here at one time. I'm pretty sure that's a record. We appreciate everybody in here. Burner made it in. Aljoy Alfonso, nice to meet you, bro. He says Hassan Whiteside will be the best backup center for. I will take Whiteside.
I will take Whiteside. If he's bought out and we don't get him, then I'll be pissed.
Yeah. So apparently Mavs fans hate Porzingis. I know he gets injured. I'm just sorry. He and Lauri Markkanen actually go at the rim and try to take necks, bro. They go at people's throats, and I like that. And I don't want to get rid of Ayton for them. I want to add Ayton to them. I don't think you could. It's done with Kristaps. I mean, he's staying. He's staying because it's working with the Mavericks, right? Otherwise, they would have shipped his ass out.
I think they want to get rid of him, and there's no buyers because he's not the unicorn anymore. He's just a spot up. He's a poor man's MPJ now.
I don't
because he can't move.
I just don't understand the hate on Kristaps. I mean, it's fine. It's fine. We'll move on.
Gabe also likes Archie Goodwin and Jagan Bender and wants Jalen LeCue to play an integral role. He also wants Campaign to be the starting point guard next year. So
you son of a bitch. I said 3 years from now when Chris Paul leaves.
I know.
But I'm willing to come off on that if we can get somebody like Lonzo or I'm not crazy. So is your boy from the Nuggets ready?
You said he got stuck on a call a little while ago, but let me just message him real quick.
It's all good. It's all good. We got plenty to talk about.
But we do. Go ahead for a second.
So we've got a lot of Blazers fans in here. Welcome. What's going on with Norman Powell and Gary Trent Jr.? Because when I was on y'all's podcast, it seemed like
they loved him.
It was like Gary Trent Jr. is Kelly Oubre, Mikal Bridges, Torrey Craig, all wrapped up into one. Like they would not shut up about this dude. And frankly, I had damn near barely heard of him except for I remember him doing something in the bubble. So like, how do you guys feel considering giving up that player? It's like, is Norman Powell enough to make you just say, hey, it's worth it? Jan Alexis Francisco Benzuela says, shout out, Jan. A burner account says Whiteside and DA, the consistent duo. Yeah, that is Whiteside's biggest issue. Ever since he got paid, he went completely hot and cold. Some games he plays good. Some days it's like he smoked 3 joints before the game and he just doesn't care. So they would have to. There's no effing way those two could play at the same time.
But our culture, our vibe, how we play the game, there's potential that could rub off on a player like that, right?
Yeah.
You play with Chris Paul, things tend to happen.
Yeah, but Whiteside is like the ultimate stop and go player. You think Ayton's bad with his consistency? Whiteside is way worse, or at least just as bad.
But we'd still take it, right?
Over nothing, absolutely.
Yes. So it's hard. You're going to take players' faults at this point. You're not going after Victor Oladipo. You're not getting a Vucevic. You're going to be willing to take the downside of these players that you sign. You're going to be willing to take an old LMA Drummond or inconsistencies.
Bro, he's not that old, man. Like
LaMarcus is 35.
Bro, I mean,
it's NBA years. It's old.
I mean, I feel attacked because I'm 34. You know what I'm saying?
So am I.
Obviously, I can't go on a court and do what they do because I have lost a little bit of athleticism and zip and everything. But this dude is a professional. I mean, I could never go on an NBA court. I'm just saying, at my age, I don't have what I used to have. But LMA's game doesn't. I'm sorry. When does he dunk? When does he drive to the basket? He stands there and how long did Dirk play effectively? Because he just stands there and hits jumpers. He's 7 foot tall and you can't block him.
Fade away all day.
35 doesn't scare me, considering, like we always talk about, bro, we have a 3-year window to get a title with CP3, probably no longer. So why not have LMA around for that ride? You know? So Blazers fans, Shervin's saying Trent, that Norman is better than Trent, but they love Trent. So it's just kind of a fan favorite thing. Gabe says we should probably try and sign Amari. Yeah, we need to sign Amari to coach Ayton, not to play. Kuv says he was pissed at the time, but he's okay with bringing in Norman Powell, especially since they got rid of Hood. That's the thing. They definitely wanted rid of Hood. I'm so glad that we didn't get Hood, and I'm so glad that the Suns did not pick up George Hill. Did you hear all the shit they were talking about George Hill?
People wanted George Hill like he was going to be the savior of our team.
Like he was going to do anything.
I don't get it.
I'm not a George Hill guy. Not a George Hill guy.
I don't really know how that makes Philly all that much better. I mean, I guess it's a decent backup point guard for when you got to rest Ben Simmons, or if you want Simmons off the ball a little bit. I don't get the love for him. I don't.
So when I was 22, I was working at a nightclub checking IDs, right? And this was in San Antonio. George Hill comes in. This is like at the peak of his career when he's a Spur. and they had Ginobili, Duncan, Parker. They had a whole gang,
Sure.
right? This dude comes in and wants a VIP table or whatever. Didn't call in, nothing like that. And he literally gave the girls at the front the saying, "Don't you know who I am?" And so ever since that, I've hated.
No, George. No, George.
George. No one knows who you are. You know, like
you're tall.
You're not even that tall though. Like I recognize DeJuan Blair standing next to you. You know, no knees DeJuan Blair, but I don't recognize you. I'm sorry. Can you tell us your name? Oh, George Hill. Yeah, rings a bell. So he's just kind of a D-bag. I've never liked him since. That's really my only thing against him.
I met Sean Marion once, and Sean Marion was kind of a douche to me when I was a 13-year-old kid. So I always try to put that like out of my mind. Maybe he was having a bad day, didn't want to talk to a kid after practice or something, but I'm still kind of salty towards Sean Marion. Personal interactions, my only time. It is what it is. But I think we got our man backstage.
We got a guest here in the green room. Everybody say hello to Jokic's best friend right here. What's good, bro?
What's going on, y'all?
Priest Jr., how we doing? You must be on cloud 9 today, right?
Yes and no. I mean, as a Nuggets fan, it comes with apprehension. You know, there's a saying here in Nuggets Nation called #NugLife, when just things seem like they're gonna go great, but it just goes awful. So I'm holding out hope, but I think today was definitely a step in the right direction for the franchise. I think Nuggets fans have been being preached the what do I want to call it? The mindset of just be patient. Let's just wait for this core to develop. We'll wait it out. And a lot of people were getting tired of that. And I was too, to be quite honest with you. And, you know, I felt like this season was the year that they needed to make a move. Like they had to swing for the fences. They had to go for a home run because who knows how long LeBron's going to play. You know, with the Clippers doing what they're doing, who knows how long, you know, they could be up top. And plus with just the West, you just never know who could be that next team. I mean, Dallas, Phoenix, you know, Portland, if they could ever be healthy, Utah, even though I don't think anybody buys Utah, but they needed to swing for the fences. Today, to me, was a signal from Tim Connolly that we're swinging for the fences. We're going to go for it. And I can at least respect that. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but I can at least respect that they're trying to win a championship. And it's not just, we're a mid-market team. We're going to be patient. They're trying for it. And I'm happy for that.
But you're giving up Gary Harris. Was that a fan favorite? Did you guys like him? Are you going to miss him? Was he an undersized too? Talk to me about the loss of Gary Harris. And I'm blanking who else you guys traded. I'm blanking.
That's it.
Was that it?
That Gary was the only player that left in picks. I'm going to miss Gary because we're going to need him in games to draw a foul that wasn't a foul. I'm just saying that's where we're going to need Gary. Just play. I had to. It was right there for me. No, Gary was one of those guys to where the last few years of him here, the last 2 or 3 years, it was tough to watch offensively. He was a guy who year 3, he was at like 17 points per game at age 23, one of the best young defenders in the league. And we were like, man, like there was a point in time as a Nuggets fan that you thought it was Nikola, it was Jamal, and it was Gary. That's the core right there. And then Gary got injured with, you know, it was the groin and it was abdominal issues and core issues, and he just never was the same. He missed a lot of games the last few years. And then from there, he could just never find his confidence, his rhythm. And to be honest, this year he got hurt again. And then guys like PJ Dozier. What's that?
Twice. He didn't start the season, came back, got hurt again.
Yeah, so I mean.
RJ Hampton, though, too, right?
Well, yeah, RJ got traded too. But I mean, like, as far as like
nobody big
that contributed, I mean, it was Gary. But yeah, I mean, he just never lost. He just never got his confidence back. And, you know, he really lost his place. You know, I was talking with my co-host Brandon on our podcast about it last week. I was like, when Gary comes back, who's he playing over? He's not playing over PJ Dozier. He's not playing over Monte. That's for sure. You know, who's he stealing
Monte
minutes from? And I've kind of felt like he just became the odd man out. And to be honest with you, Gary's been on the block for like 2 or 3 seasons now. Like they've been trying to get rid of him for a little bit. Ever since he signed that deal, he just hasn't been living up to it. But he's a fan favorite in that he was the longest tenured Nugget on this team, 7 years, I want to say. He was a homegrown guy. good dude, hard worker. Obviously, he makes clutch plays defensively. They don't win the Utah series without him. He's in my book will always be Jordan Clarkson's father, because when he came back in that Utah series, Jordan Clarkson was going nutso that whole series, and then Gary Harris comes back for the last 2 games. You don't hear nothing from Jordan Clarkson, and of course Gary comes away with that steal on Donovan Mitchell to really seal things. But he was a fan favorite. It's a tough day because you hate to see guys like that go, because he was a good guy in the locker room. You could just go to Jamal's Instagram story and see how much he loves that guy. But I think they got better today. They got more versatile today. They got more athletic today. I don't know if they're championship material yet. I'm still doubting if they can get past the Lakers, but I think they got better today.
My whole thing with them is you got JaVale McGee and you've got Aaron Gordon. Now you already have Bulbul's way down on the bench, so he's not going to play. Obviously, you've got Jokic. Yep. Obviously, you got Murray. Then you got Will Barton. Yep. I forgot about Monte Morris, who I love. And then you got Dozier. Then you got Paul Millsap too, and MPJ.
Yeah.
Now I know that
Jermichael Green,
Jermichael Green too. So McGee's gonna go and do some of the dumbest things on a basketball court that you've ever seen.
Yes.
And then he'll randomly get you 20 boards and 7 blocks.
Exactly.
Aaron Gordon is gonna go out there and go 7 for 8 from 3 randomly, and then Olay defense the rest of the night. So I feel like defensively, y'all didn't get any better, maybe even a smidge worse without having a Gary Harris, even though he wasn't playing. But if comparing apples to apples defensively, I felt like the defensive presence of Harris brings more than those 2 other guys. Yeah. Granted, I know McGee's a shot blocker and you need that rim protector. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I just feel like if you have a lineup out there with Gordon and MPJ, that's just a whole lot of whiffing defense out there.
See, there's a lot of misconception going on, and I'll be honest with you. I have to wait and see, because how many of us watch Orlando Magic games? I mean,
we watched it last night, and we watched them when you guys blew them out, and then we lose to them. So.
Well, we almost lost. Listen, Orlando made a comeback. The Nuggets were up 30 at halftime against Orlando, and then after the third quarter, which is the Nuggets' just death quarter, they just implode in third quarters. They were down 11, so they were close to dropping that one, but they didn't. But with Aaron Gordon, like, my point is, I don't watch enough Aaron Gordon to make a decision on or not if he's a good defender. From guys that I trust that watch Aaron Gordon, guys like Matt Moore, who covers stuff for CBS Sports, works for Action Network. There's a guy here in Denver, Ryan Blackburn, who's really plugged in. They're all saying that Gordon's a really good defender. I think he has the size and athleticism to be a really good defender. Now, I'll have to wait and see how that pans out.
We've heard that too. My boy Gary, who's going to get on here in a couple of minutes, he said last night in the chat that if we got Aaron Gordon, he steps in day 1 and is the best defender on the Suns.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you look at him. I mean, he's a legit 6'8", 6'9".
He's 6'8".
Can move really well. He's an athletic freak. So I still have to wait and see. I've seen some people hold your opinion, Coach. Like my co-host, they not sold on him defensively. I've heard otherwise that he's actually a really good defender. So I'm waiting and seeing. I'm holding out before I make an opinion on whether or not he's a good defender or not. But I think they got better defensively. So I'll disagree with you there, because now they have a guy that can fill in essentially to what Jeremy Grant did for them last year. They needed a guy that they can throw at the LeBrons, the Kawhis, the KDs, the James Harden. They needed someone to guard the wing players. They now have that. When Jeremy Grant left, I mean, it was, okay, Will Barton, have at it. Okay, MPJ, go on ahead. And that just wasn't working for him. So now you get a guy in Aaron Gordon who can do that, hopefully, theoretically. Now with JaVale, I know what he can bring, in stupidity-wise and athleticism-wise and how he can produce. I mean, his first stint here in Denver we got a lot of those plays. Every now and then there was plays where he was throwing an alley-oop and it went over the backboard, and there was nights where he was like blocking 7 shots, and it's like, okay, this guy is for real if he would just, put it all together. So I think they got better defensively. They needed a backup center behind Jokic who could rim protect. Hartenstein, who they got in the offseason, just wasn't really working out very well. And they had bodies they could throw out wings, but Jermichael Green wasn't cutting it. Paul Millsap is just old. MPJ, although he's getting better defensively, I still wouldn't say he's good. He's just not as much of a liability. He's getting there. Offensively is just where he's shining. he's growing into a grown man in this game, and that's crazy to watch. But I think they got better today. They got more athletic for sure. They got a little bit bigger, and I think that's going to help against the Lakers and, maybe the Clippers a little bit, but the Lakers aren't as big anymore. So it's going to be a fun team to watch. And I think the best part about it is with Jokic, a guy who's naturally passive, it's easy to play with that guy. And he's not a superstar to where it's like it has to be about me. I guarantee you Jokic will prefer to score 12 points and have 30 assists in a night. That's just who he is. But instead, he'll just walk out there and put up 27 to 40 if he needs to. So I think they got better. It's just a matter of can they gel in time before playoffs.
We've got a couple
and that's hard.
Yeah.
We've got a couple of questions from the chat for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So somebody, I can't remember who it was up here, was saying, is Harris the one that you guys usually stuck on Booker?
So, yeah, Gary would get those assignments. It would be Gary. Other than that, I mean, if it was
Torrey Craig
him,
last year.
Yeah, Torrey Craig. Jamal a little bit. Malone came into the season saying that they weren't going to hide Jamal anymore, but they tried that. It didn't really work. I'm not saying that Jamal's bad, but for him, I think it's more of effort. But yes, to answer your question, it was mostly Gary that would play.
Okay. The other question
would be PJ. That would probably get that assignment.
Okay, another question. Why do the Nuggets not play Bol?
He's not ready. He's not ready.
He's not. So have you seen him play yet? Or are you just saying that the coach has made that decision and you're agreeing with it?
No, well, okay, here's the thing too. You have to understand this about Michael Malone. He's one of those coaches to where he has to be able to trust you defensively before you ever get in the game. Unless you're MPJ and you're just crazy, stupid, talented offensively. But even with MPJ last season, it was pulling teeth to get that guy in. There was plenty of nights where, or a string of weeks where MPJ was getting DMPs, and it was because he couldn't do anything defensively. Bol is far worse defensively. I mean, for a guy his size, you would think he should at least block shots, be a rim protector. He is very soft when it comes to rim protection, anything like that. Now, people see the Bleacher Report and, House of Highlights putting out his threes and his crazy, pull-ups from mid-range and bringing it up the court. Like, that stuff's good. But when he does get in, there's just so much that he has to work on. He doesn't play his size, if that makes sense. Like, he doesn't play at his size. He's a very guard-oriented type of player. He likes to hang out on the wing. Now, granted, he has that skill set to do that, but he's just got a long way to go. And honestly, who's he going to take minutes over at this point? Who's he playing over? At this point, it would just be a liability to play him. He's definitely a project guy. I'm honestly surprised he didn't get traded. He was one of the names that we thought would probably get moved if the Nuggets made a deal. They kept him. I'm sad to see RJ go because I think RJ has a lot of potential. I think Orlando's got a good one there, but I mean, listen, Bol has potential, but fundamentally, he's got a long way to go.
So, everybody in the chat, we appreciate you. We'll keep shouting you out. Marco, P-Dog, what's good, bro? Didn't know if you were going to make it, man. I know you're more of a late night guy like us. Let's see. Salty's back in here. Coov, everybody. So we have changed the logo up here in the top right. I don't know if you can see it.
Torrey Craig, my
that
man.
means officially that it is time to talk about Torrey Craig.
Love Torrey Craig.
So, Steven, we've done enough jerking off of Torrey Craig verbally, okay? And now we're going to move on to the physical type. No. So, can you first tell us everything bad about Torrey Craig and every reason why he's not on your team? Just tell us the downside to Torrey Craig so that we can come to earth a little bit.
You're just not going to get much from Torrey offensively. I think I said this in the chat the other night when I was watching you guys. Anything you get from Torrey offensively is just icing on the cake. Don't expect him to be a 10-point a night type of guy. He can do that,
which he got last night,
right? But I mean,
the night before.
Okay, maybe he's improved.
The thing about our offense, and it's been this way since D'Antoni. I didn't mean to cut you off because I don't really need to talk about Craig. I want you to. But our offense is something, bro. You see Aaron Baines last year?
Yeah.
You see Frank Kaminsky when he came back from the Kings?
Frank the Tank. I see he's been doing some things.
Okay.
Why is he not playing?
Kind of.
Well, we found out he's no good ultimately.
No.
It just isn't.
No. He's just kind of like a Whiteside, super inconsistent. You
Mm.
never, and it's streaky. He'll be real good for like 7 games, and then you don't even know what happened to him for the rest of the season. It seems like so. You never know. Sorry, what was I saying? Okay, you saw Aaron Baines, you saw Kaminsky, you saw Kelly Oubre in our system last year, and then what happens? What happens when Kelly goes to the Warriors? Splash Broville. Not a damn thing. So Craig could average 10 points for us. I just want to say that. He's already off that mark.
He cuts a lot. He cuts off ball, and which is going to get him 2 to 3 buckets a game. He's going to get a random fast break, and he can shoot. Eddie Johnson was talking about it on the broadcast, man. So he can.
I don't want to hear from you or me about him shooting or Eddie Johnson, although I take his word very seriously about shooting. I want to know from Steven.
Yeah.
Talk to me about his jump shot. Because what we see is a beautiful release. And if you have a beautiful release and Chris Paul passing you the ball,
he's got that Hall of Fame dimer on, upgrades your shooting ability. Listen, Torrey that's where he's going to get most of his points. He's a hustle guy. He's a defensive guy. He's a cutter. That's where he's going to make his living is through those putbacks, those, off ball cuts, stuff like that. His shot isn't, I mean, it's fine. Like every now and then he gets those things to go in, but I mean, I wouldn't rely on him to be, a Jay Crowder to where he's like a 3-and-D guy. I wouldn't classify Torrey Craig as that. He's not even, I wouldn't even call him streaky. He's not like of the Jordan.
He's a bad shooter.
He's just not reliable. I'm not gonna say he's bad, but he's just not reliable. I wouldn't rely on that.
So do you see him go on really cold streaks where he just can't hit?
Yeah. Well, in Denver, yeah. But there was also times where he just didn't shoot. And I think that was just him just knowing that his role in the offense that's just not what his role was. In the offense was not to shoot.
That's your role in Phoenix. Okay.
Right. And maybe he can provide that.
Crowder talked about this. He said in Miami, they asked him, like, how come you got your shooting together in Miami? What was that? Because you didn't shoot like that in Utah. You didn't shoot like that who else did he play for?
Cleveland, Boston Mavericks.
And he said, well, we had a saying, basically just a simple saying in Miami, which was just let it fly. Mm-hmm. And we had that attitude. And when you're playing, knowing that you're not going to get in trouble for letting it fly, dude, it's amazing how much better of a shooter you are because you're not thinking. Thinking is the only thing that gets in the way of shooting, bro, because your muscles have the memory. They know what to do. It's all about your brain. Sure. And in our system, we have that let it fly. That's why you see Crowder slapping threes, just like he did in Miami. Man, keep an eye on Torrey Craig because I think he is going to continue to shoot well for us because everybody gets their shots over here. Yeah. You guys are just really loaded at wing.
Are we though?
It seems like it from afar. I mean, who's going to take shots from the 2 and 3 position? Who's going to take shots away from MPJ and Murray?
Actually, what's your starting 5 now?
That's a good question because I was having this conversation with a guy on Twitter, another Nuggets fan, and he's like, "So what are we doing? Because Malone has figured out this year that Jamal is better off ball. He's a better 2 than he is a 1." That's why if they would have got Chris Paul in the offseason, I mean, chef's kiss, because then you get a guy who can handle those point guard duties and Jamal can just roam and just feast. But they've been playing a lot of Monte in the starting lineup. Part of that is because Gary got hurt, so they needed to adjust.
Sure.
And, Will Barton for a stretch there just wasn't cutting it. And then he was also dealing with his own injury issues. So they had no choice but to put Monte up there, and it's worked. So I think there's going to be one of 2 lineups here. It's going to be Jamal, Monte, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, or Jokic, or it's going to be Jamal, Will Barton, MPJ, Aaron Gordon, or Jokic. For me, if I had to choose, I'd probably go with Monte. That way you could have a stable scorer in Will Barton off the bench. And so off the bench, then it's PJ Dozier, Will Barton, JaVale McGee, and either JaMychal Green, Paul Millsap. I guess you could play both of those, you guys, if you want to. Facu.
I just feel like you got to have Monte control the point coming in off the bench.
You can. That's the thing. So that's the good part about having because Monte's just steady. Like Monte's a steady 12 to 15 a night. He doesn't turn the ball over. He just makes the right decisions. He's not a great scorer, but he's a good shooter.
I like him,
especially in the mid range. Yeah, he's a great player. If you put him off the bench, my fear is there. Then it's okay. Then it's PJ. Then it's Monte, JaMychal Green, JaVale McGee. And there's just not a lot of scoring ability there. That's why I would rather have Will there. And with PJ, he's kind of, I wouldn't say he's on Monte's level in terms of playmaking and decision-making, but he's like a step below. He's a really underrated playmaker and passer and decision-maker. So that's why I think they'd be fine there. But I think it's going to be one of those two lineups. I would prefer having Monte in the starting lineup, at least for right now. But I'm sure Malone's going to kick those two lineups around and see what works. But really, it's going to come down to playoffs because it's going to go to an 8-man rotation, and that's why I think we have to be aware. And like this is the hot word that's surrounding Utah, right? Oh, they're so deep. They got so many players that can score. But I'll tell you this from experience, for having the label as my favorite team, being the deep team in the league, that's never worked for the Nuggets. Because come playoff time, it's about 7, 8 right there, your first 7 players. Are you deep there where it really matters? Can those guys beat out the other team? And for Denver, it never worked. For Utah, I don't think it'll work. Now Denver's got a legit 7 to 8 players that I think could be a problem.
I completely agree. Go ahead. I got to jump off in like 10 to 15 minutes here, unfortunately. So I had a few more questions and kind of rolls through some other things. But Gabe, did you want to bring up something quickly?
Well, I just wanted to say that there's an update here to the trade deadline buzz. So Jabari Parker is looking at getting. See, they're planning on waiving Jabari Parker. I'm sorry, but I'm a huge Jabari Parker fan. I had to bring it up. I don't care where he is. I've always wanted Jabari Parker on our team, bro.
Hey, I'll take him over Tyshawn Alexander.
I'll take him over nothing at all, right? Steven, what do you think about Jabari Parker? Have you heard anything about him at this point in his career?
I mean, I think Jabari's really, because coming out of Duke, right, he was very athletic, and
number 2 pick.
Injuries, those kind of hurt him a little bit athleticism wise, but I think he's gotten more skilled. I really think he had no choice to become more skilled. So I think he's a solid guy. I think for him, he'd be a good fit, on teams that are like contending teams. Like a guy off the bench that provides you 10 points.
Does he remind you of MPJ at all?
Jabari?
Yeah.
Oh, he's 6'8".
No. MPJ he's different. that dude is different. With MPJ, he just needs to learn how to catch the dang basketball. He needs to get on the jug machines with Jerry.
He's played 3 games this year. He played 6 games last year. The year before that, 32 games. The year before that, 25 games. 39, 31, 51. I ain't taking him, man. I mean, I'll take him right now to end the year if he was healthy, but he's played 3 games this year.
Yeah.
So that's a hard pass for me. But a lot of other trades went down. What are your first quick reaction thoughts to Vucevic and Levine together in Chicago?
Yeah, that was crazy. I did not think the Magic were going to trade him. I know that like they were asking for a haul to get rid of him, but I mean, that's good for Chicago. I mean, they have an interesting team there. Levine is obviously to that level where he's an all-star player. I think a lot of people just thought of him as a dunker, a high flyer. He's really refined his game to where he's a really good all-around scorer. I don't know if I wouldn't classify him as a shooter, but he can shoot. He's just a great scorer.
He's a bucket getter.
Yeah. Yeah. And Vucevic, I mean, that guy, he's good for 24 a night. He's a solid center. He's really good.
Is he a top 5 center in the league? For us, what we did, we just did this last night. We had Jokic, Embiid, Cat. I have Vucevic, and then we're adding Domantas Sabonis in that because he's 6'11". So and then he plays behind Miles Turner, but he's 6'11", and they have Bam Adebayo, who's 6'9", playing center. So
yeah,
I would classify him, and then Gobert is 6 for me.
Gobert, that guy. I would say Jokic, Embiid in whatever order you want. Obviously, for me, I think Jokic is better, but Jokic, Embiid, Cat. I feel like we're missing somebody. Jokic, Embiid, Cat. I mean, Vucevic has to be in there. I wouldn't put Gobert in there because, I mean, he just provides nothing offensively.
It's Miles Turner, Sabonis. We went through this whole list last night.
I'd probably put Bam in there.
Another case saying that DeAndre Ayton is not a top 5 center, Gabe. How about that? We were going over this last night. We said arguably DeAndre Ayton is a top 10 center.
Maybe
arguably
sneaks in the top 10.
Let me look at the teams really quickly.
I mean, because now we're bringing in Cantor. Rashawn Holmes is outperforming him right now, just stats wise. You said Bam. You could bring up a couple other guys.
Clint Capella.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we talked about him. Valanciunas.
Yeah.
Mark Gasol before this year, I would have said so. Al Horford before this year, I would have said so. So that's why we're saying he's arguably.
I mean, what about Nurkic when he's healthy?
Exactly.
Is Ayton better than Nurkic?
I would take Ayton right now over Nurkic, mostly due to injuries. But if we're talking they both have been healthy, I would probably take Nurk.
Would we classify Kristaps as a small ball 5? I mean, he's 7.
Nobody's gonna take Kristaps over DeAndre Ayton, right? Everybody's taking DeAndre over Kristaps. Are you? Would you take Kristaps or would you take Ayton?
Oh, I'd say Kristaps. Yeah. Yeah. I think he's a more gifted scorer.
Suns fans, quit drinking the DeAndre Ayton top 5 center Kool-Aid. He is arguably top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I
know.
I mean, Wiseman. Would you take Ayton over Wiseman?
No, not right now. No.
I think Ayton has the physical tools to be a really good center.
He's been more engaged the last 3 games. He had a kid over the All-Star break. He seems more engaged. But
can he step out? I mean, I saw you guys talking about it last night that he doesn't really take many threes. Does he have a shot? Like, does he step out? Does he ever shoot?
So in the bubble last year, when everything got shut down, I guess he was working on his 3, and then
was he working or was he Ben Simmons working on it?
Well, we had a Suns fan tweet something funny, being like, if DeAndre Ayton hits a 3 in the bubble, I'm gonna get a tattoo of whatever. Well, DeAndre Ayton did, and then the next game he did, and then the next game he made 2, and that was kind of it. But after the interviews, he was all like, "Oh, it's just a midi to me. Shooting a 3 is like a midi. It's no problem." And he was doing it, and now he's not doing it at all. Like he got pulled. He got pulled one game because he took a wide open one. Really? He got pulled.
Huh.
So he can, but he can't.
In my opinion, I think he has a beautiful jumper, beautiful release, obviously, and he's just terrified. He's scared. And once again, what did I just say? Shooting is all mental. When you shoot that much, when you have your shot down that much, it's all about the mental headspace you're in. Like Mikal Bridges was in a weird headspace. He had his hitch back in his shot last night. So Ayton doesn't have the IQ and the wherewithal right now to shoot.
What about Jaren Jackson too in Memphis? Are we taking Ayton over him?
That's tough, right? Think? I mean, injuries right now. I would.
Yeah. Okay.
But it's arguable. We're having the discussion about
offensively from Jackson, but again, I feel like Ayton's one of those guys where he has the physical tools, but he just doesn't do enough with it. Like you see, and I know Coach isn't a big fan of inside the NBA, but like when Shaq talks about him, he's like he needs to do more. He doesn't do enough. So I'll be honest with you. I mean, when I think best centers in the league, I don't think Ayton has top 5 or probably not even top 10. But then again, I don't know if I can even. I'll probably go Jokic, Embiid, Cat. Then I'd probably go. Bam.
I had Vooch at 4 for me.
Vooch, yeah, those would probably be my top 5. Then I'd probably go
Clint
from there.
Valanciunas, Gobert. You got to put Gobert. You got to put Gobert.
Would be in there somewhere.
He's the defensive player of the year.
Man, I mean, Jared Allen.
Exactly.
We probably put him in there. I mean, like I said, if Kristaps is a small ball 5, Nurk, Jaren Jackson. I don't. To be honest with you, I don't know if Ayton would crack my top 10. To be honest with you.
There you go.
Bro, I mean, do you know any bigger Suns fans? Like, we're agreeing. We think the same thing,
But Book is on the rise, though. So That's a
Yeah,
franchise right
Reach.
there.
So I got to hop off in a few minutes. I got some quick other questions for you.
Mhm.
Out of these teams, who got better today? The Mavericks with Redick, Clippers with Rondo, Portland with Powell. Out of those three teams, which one got more better?
Rondo's an interesting one. I don't know how much better that makes LA though, because I think they lost a guy in Lou Williams who played a key role for them. Like now, who's scoring off the bench for them? I mean, well, I guess they'll stagger the lineups to have PG or Kawhi on the floor at all times. But if I had to choose, I'd say probably the Blazers probably got the best out of that. Because Norman, like his last 10 games, he's averaging like 20 plus right now. But I like Gary Trent Jr. Like that's a guy that like I would keep my eye on for as a Nuggets fan to once he hits free agency, like let's kick the tires on that and see what we can bring in for him. I'd probably say the Blazers, but then again with the Blazers, it's just, I mean, with defense, like we know they can score, but can they stop anybody?
No, they can't.
So that's their problem, really.
So where do you see? If you were to guess right now, and we're going to go 9 because of the NBA playoff game, if you were to pick a number against each team 1 through 9, where do the Western Conference teams stack up now?
I think I don't think anybody's going to catch Utah. I think they're just having one of those years to where everything's clicking at the right time. You know, everybody's having their best years at the right moment. So I don't think anybody's going to catch Utah, even though I do see that Phoenix is close. I mean, 3 games. I'll say probably Utah probably stays 1. I know Gabe didn't think they'd lose a game for the rest of the year or the millennium, but
son of a bitch.
I'd probably say because I mean the Clippers have the same amount of wins.
We also play the Clippers twice still.
Okay. I think the Clippers sneak into 2.
We have the 6th hardest strength of schedule going forward for what
it's
worth.
Really? Wow. All right, so I'll say Clippers 2. I'll say Phoenix locks in at 3. I think the Lakers probably drop to 5. I think Denver will sneak in at 4. I'll put the Lakers at 5, and I think San Antonio falls out, and I think the Warriors find a way to sneak in at 8. So I'll go Utah 1, LA Clippers 2, Phoenix 3, Denver 4, the Lakers 5, Portland 6, Dallas 7, Golden State 8.
So that puts us against Dame time, round 1.
I don't want that.
Good luck.
That is
That's
the worst
scary.
case scenario. I would
Been
not
there,
out of
hate that.
all the bottom 4 teams there, or 5, I guess. That's one I would not want to play.
Yep.
But I honestly, if things click with Denver, I can see you guys getting the 2 spot very easily.
I'm just worried it's just going to take them time to click. Plus, Denver, I'm just telling, man, they're just.
But having a guy like Jokic that can create stuff without having a play drawn is so underrated.
He is the play. It's just
especially for a guy that can slash, cut, shoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you guys have a chance. I really do. I said at the beginning of the pod, I am officially afraid of Denver, and I don't want to play them in the playoffs. But
they're just one of those teams that now they've transitioned to a point to where they don't perform well enough in the regular season. Like they just kind of mess around in the regular season a little bit. Like they get blown out by Toronto, and each year it's like they pick 2 Eastern Conference teams, bad teams to just lose to. They're just like, who are we gonna? Last year it was Cleveland. This year it's Washington. We just like to get kicked in the face by bad Eastern Conference teams. But
you hear that, Suns fans? It happens to the best of us.
Oh yeah, the Nuggets but then they go out and play great against some of the good teams. But they're more of a playoff team. So if I was a non-Nuggets fan, I would be scared of the Nuggets because Jokic rises in the playoffs. Jamal, if you get bubble Jamal, I mean he's a different player in the playoffs.
If this isn't the bubble anymore either.
Right, but he even in that first year against Portland, he was a 18-point game scorer in that regular season, and then the first year when they made it against Portland, he jumped up to I think 21 or 22. So he rises, and then MPJ he's the X factor. I'm telling you,
for sure.
He'll go as far as he's gonna allow.
He's our Aiden. Okay, so last question before I got to dip out.
Yeah,
are you afraid of facing Phoenix in the playoffs?
Listen, as a Nuggets fan, I'm afraid of facing everybody because there's. I told you, I told you, Nug life. Like we almost lost to the Jazz last year. Okay, so I mean, we should have beat Portland the year before, but we lost to Portland. San Antonio almost got us that last year as well. The Nuggets, they literally the past two in the Jokic era, they have not played a series where it doesn't go to 7 games. So I'm scared of anybody at this point. I mean, the West is just loaded. I don't think you can overlook anybody. Now there's more favorable matchups. Like I'd rather play San Antonio if they're in there.
Right. That's where I'm at.
But once you get to Dallas on down, I mean, I could make a case that all those teams could beat the Nuggets, including Phoenix. I think that would be a 6 or 7 game series. Right now, I mean, I could see it go either way. I could see it coin flip. But I think for Phoenix, here's the thing, though. It's still a very young team. And I put a lot of stock in when it comes to playoffs, you have to have that experience. It's not like the NFL or anything like that to where it's one game and a team could get hot and just blow through and win a championship. Rarely does the hot team win 4 games, however many series in a row. It just doesn't happen. And there's something to experience in the playoffs. The Nuggets had to go through it. And I think Phoenix will have to. Now, I think it helps that they have a guy like Chris Paul. I think it helps that they have guys like Jay Crowder there who are battle tested. I think Torrey Craig is really going to come up big for you guys in the playoffs. I just think that's going to be their bugaboo is just the youth and just having to get that experience. So
I completely agree. And with that said, I've got to jump off, you guys. It was awesome to have you on again, Steven. So go ahead, hang out here for a while. I know you're bringing Spurs fan Gary on. So another Western Conference foe to talk about all the changes going on. But Suns fans, don't worry. If we pick up somebody or not, it's going to be fine. We need to ride or die as fans with who we got and who has changed the culture. And all we need to do is focus on beating Toronto and Tampa Bay tomorrow.
They just kicked the heads into the Nuggets last night.
It happens. Focus, get that win, and then we move on to Charlotte. I will see you guys tomorrow night. Gabe, thank you. Steven, we'll keep the chats going.
Yes, sir.
Cheers.
All right, man. Just you and me, sir. No, I've got my boy Spurs fan Gary coming on here. So real quick, shout out to the chat. Bo Strobel's in here now, dude. What's good? So officially, this is not Suns Geek talking in the chat. I'm texting Suns Geek right now. Maybe I can show you guys. Maybe you'll be able to see through my cracked screen. But he's saying same thing happened last night. Definitely not me. He's like, I don't even like your effing show. It's shit. Why would I even be in there? Stuff like that. So he's gonna spend a little bit more time in the basement. Oh, you don't even do you know the inside joke?
I do not.
So the chat basically thinks, right or wrong, that I'm a serial killer. And that the only reason Suns Geek is working with us so often and doing videos about us is because I've got him in my basement.
Okay.
I mean, a lady never tells. Okay. So we'll just move on from that. But this is not Suns Geek in the chat. I put him on a little 5-minute timeout. Maybe the real Suns Geek will join in. But anyways, I've got my boy Spurs fan Gary. This is about to get interesting. We got some Spurs, Nuggets, Suns action going on here. What's going on, Spurs fan Gary?
What's happening, man? Only two of the 3 teams are going to be relevant, though. So I'll just sit back and listen to what you guys got to say.
So you've been saying that the Spurs are going into a full rebuild.
Yeah, 100%.
Is that just you being salty because you're upset they're not playing well, or is that a real thing?
No, I think it's pretty obvious. I mean, they got a lot of young guys finally. They basically came out a while ago when they said that they weren't bringing Aldridge back and said that all the vets, Gay, DeRozan, Mills, all of them were up for on the block, basically, to be traded out. And then I don't know what the deal was with DeRozan. I kind of heard back and forth stuff that they were getting interest, but it was nothing that they were willing to part to do a swap with. And then I heard also that they weren't getting much interest from any of them. But about 2 weeks ago, I think it was, maybe 3, there was a lot of talk about the same trade that the Heat made for Oladipo being a trade for Aldridge. And then it basically came out that I definitely don't think the Spurs wanted Avery Bradley. I think they wanted possibly Olenek. And then I think that's when it came out that, the Spurs are buying him out anyway, so just wait and get him off the, once he hits free agency or whatever through that. So I don't know, but at that same time, there was a little bit of, is he going to go to Boston or is he going to go to Miami? And then right around the time that the trade talks and stuff went away, it was just strictly like buyout. Spurs. Yeah, every Spurs thing you look at, it's been for the better part of a week. Like it's just a given he's going to Miami as soon as the buyout was over. So I don't know. I know you guys are hopeful you get him, but.
Well, so Steven, what do you think about LMA? You're LMA, all right? You're 7 feet tall nearly, and you've got a jumper. Where are you taking that jumper?
Well, I'm trying to think of what teams could use it. I would say, the experiment with Gasol hasn't really worked with the Lakers. That could be an interesting one there, but LaMarcus and Gary could probably speak to this more than we could because, obviously I don't watch the Spurs enough, but LaMarcus is not the same player that he used to be, but he still has that jumper. Like he's still cash from 12 to 15. So he just needs to go to a team that can be a contender. A team like the Suns, like the Lakers. I don't know if the Clippers would necessarily use him or need him. But it would have to be one of those teams that are in contention for like that. I mean, could Utah use somebody like that who could space the floor? But they have Favors back, so I don't know if they would need him. So it'd have to be a team like that. I mean, I guess he could go, jump on the ship in Brooklyn, but
that would be insane. That would be nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it would have to be one of those top-heavy teams.
So it's not going to be Portland. It's not going to be Portland. The Portland guys in here have said that they're out, that the team's just out. So Blazers Uprise in here now says the biggest winner of the day is the Blazers and the Nuggets. They did win big too. But if it's you, man, you're LA, you're LMA. Who do you choose? Who would you rather say you're at this stage in his career, 35? Who do you want to? Who's the better one to likely get a ring with? Because that's what people think he's going after.
Yeah, I mean, is there a better guy to piggyback off of for a ring than LeBron?
No, I'm just Miami and Phoenix.
Oh, out of the teams that are okay, so that's the two teams that are in it right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hypothetically, even if there's more people involved,
I'd probably say Phoenix because I don't think Miami has a realistic shot at getting back. I think everybody sees kind of what they did last year, kind of as a fluke, right? I mean, that's kind of what it feels like. I mean, they're what, 1 or 2 games above 500 right now?
Yeah.
So I'd say Phoenix because, I mean, outside of Ayton, is there a big on your team that you have that can stretch the floor?
No.
Is Saric really – I mean, Saric is
he's a 4.
Yeah, he's a 4, but he seems kind of under – how big is Saric? He's like 6'10". Is he really?
He's an actual 6'10".
Okay.
But he's thin. You know what I'm saying? Like he's not a shot blocker. He's not a paint clogger.
Right.
Nothing like that. Maybe Aldridge is still talking to Portland.
Yeah.
Like Rise is saying.
I think that would be a good fit because, I mean, what's the status on Zach Collins? I mean, is he going to be back this year? I mean, I think Nurk is going to be back, but I mean, outside of cancer, if Zach Collins isn't going to be ready or if he's not going to be himself, I mean, I think Aldridge would be a solid pickup for them.
Gary, same thing. You're LA. Where do you go?
You're not gonna like my answer, man.
No, I'll take it for what it is, man. I mean, you've got the beach and you've got no taxes.
Well, you also got Jimmy Butler, Dragic, Oladipo, Bam. You've got a lot of pieces there that went to the finals last year. It's not if the Suns were in, let's say, Utah, the Blazers, or maybe Denver's place where they've made runs and they're maybe him away from getting over the hump, you have no clue how close the Suns are because 98% of that team has never played a playoff game. So, and like I've told you every time we've talked that the the biggest jump you guys will make is after this playoff run. You can add Aldridge, you can add Drummond, you can add whatever you want, but until you start getting actual playoff experience and you understand the different world that is. And like when we got Kawhi, everybody was all excited. It wasn't outside of San Antonio, nobody thought he was going to be what he is. But there was like, you just heard about, man, this guy works like crazy. He's soaking up everything he can, from the guards to the bigs. He's constantly with the coaches, this and that. But until he got in that first, and you know, they went to the playoffs every year for him, but until he got in that first finals with LeBron, that's when he clicked. That's when everybody noticed, okay, his defense is for real. He can kind of create his own shots. And then the next year is where he elevated when they won and he got the MVP and all that. And that's every player, man. There's a lot of players that
reminds me of Jamal Murray. Like,
right, but you take guys
the
like
Nuggets weren't
Aldridge.
taken seriously until last year because of what they did in the playoffs.
Right. Well, we took him serious when we went to Game 7 and that whole team did us in. But
I hated that series.
I couldn't believe it, man. I thought we didn't have a chance at all, and then here we are in Game 7. But in those games were so drastic. You guys would win by 20, we would win by 20. It didn't make any sense. But anyways, like Aldridge, one of the biggest knocks on Aldridge when he came to San Antonio, and especially after Kawhi went down in that Warriors series, was he shrinks. You know, he couldn't put the team on his back and win games, you know, as the guy. You don't know if you have that. I mean, I would assume that Booker can be that guy, but we don't know. We haven't seen it. We haven't seen them go down 0-2 and see if they can rally and come back. We haven't seen them get up 2-0 and be able to keep their foot on a team's throat. So, I mean, there's so much question with your guys' squad. There's zero question when it comes to talent, I don't think. I think you look at your guys' roster, you watch the games, it's clear you're the next, you know, upcoming team in the West. But I mean, as far as like deep playoff runs and a guy who's ring chasing to say, I'm going to go here instead of the team in the East, which I think we all would agree is easier. With that, I would say they're pretty loaded, you know, adding Oladipo, still having the majority of the guys they had, including bench guys. I just think if you're ring chasing, it makes a lot more sense to go to Miami now than it does to go to Phoenix right now.
Yeah, you've got an easier path in the East. You know, and then
but
like
don't you think you've got a better
stars
proven team? Like, I know you're a Suns fan. I'm not saying
proven, yes. You know, the Nuggets are one full step ahead of the Suns in the progression, right? They've been to the playoffs now with their squad. They've gotten the experience. They've had their trials and they've won. They've won their trials. And then they lost, but they looked scary as shit last year. No joke, Steven. Everybody pretty much thought the Nuggets were going to do it. They thought you guys were going to take LA all the way because you did it to
buzzer beater away.
You know, so you guys are a step ahead of us. The Heat are a step ahead of us. I just, I don't know. We've got this Monty connection and Chris Paul. Like, I don't know. Specifically, point guard wise and coach wise, I would take Monty and CP3. I mean, we've got Crowder, we've got Ayton, we've got McHale. Like, we're not shabby, bro. Like, we just jack stomped the Heat. I mean, like, they're not better than us. Like, even Ayton gave it to Bam. Like, they're not better than us. We beat them in the bubble. They're not better, bro. They're not, because we match up with them. Like, I would laugh my ass off in a weird world where we end up in the finals against the Heat, because that would be a juicy matchup for us. Like, we'd be licking our chops, dude. But I don't know, man. That's interesting. That's interesting that everybody thinks LA is going to Miami for sure. It's like there's no question about it.
Well, I mean, if you're the Heat, you could use them because, I mean, you need everything you can get to go up against the buzzsaw that's Brooklyn, right? I mean, is anybody going to get past them? I mean, maybe Milwaukee has the best shot, but I mean, if I had to choose that series right now, I'd probably say Brooklyn in 5. Because I mean, how do you get past that team? I don't even think the Lakers can get past that team. I don't think anybody can get past that team. They have just so much superior talent with Kyrie, Kevin, and James. Like, you could, they're not the greatest defensively, but how are you going to score 130 plus a night against them? That's the issue. is how are you going to keep up with them?
Like they're a team that has 3 number one. Like what you could argue that they have 3 of the top 10 players for sure, right? Maybe 3 of the top
12?
7.
Yeah. Well, they definitely have 2 of the top 5.
Right.
Top 7.
So I'm saying
there's Kyrie
3
in that list, though. He's top 15.
You could
easy.
say, yeah. So
in top 12.
Not only do they have that kind of talent, but they have to know if they play defense, they win.
Yeah.
You play
Well, not only
defense,
that,
you win a title.
they also have a guy in Joe Harris who's one of the best shooters in the game. So like you can't help off of anybody. You can't double anybody. You could try to, but even if you do stop them and your rotations are great, then once it swings to Joe Harris, I mean, do you feel comfortable about him shooting an open 3? I don't.
So do you guys think that this whole year is just kind of like an inevitable going up against Thanos situation where it's like we're all just fighting for who gets to lose to the Nets? Is it that serious?
To me, it feels like the Golden State years where you just feel like it's inevitable what's going to happen. At least to me, that's how it feels.
I agree, man. And when they've played well and dominated teams, what if they only had those 3 play together like 3 times? Mm-hmm. So it's like you still haven't seen the full potential. And you've got 3 guys that have gone deep into the playoffs and one's won titles. But I mean, that kind of talent, that kind of experience, the whole, I don't know, man. I don't understand how they did it. Like I look at like the Spurs and it's like, I understand nobody wants to go to San Antonio, but I'm just like, I look at the roster and it's a bunch of, 4 years and younger guys with DeMar, Patty, and Rudy now. And it's like, how do we not have money, but yet they've got
enough money for every fucking
an
star
all-star
that's
team.
ever,
exactly.
Yeah.
Like they've got an
They
entire
have a
all-star
starting,
team.
they have 3/5 of the Eastern Conference starting all-star team. That's not a joke. They really do. Right. Mm-hmm. And then where's Joe Harris? Did he make the all-star team? No. I mean, he could be the 3-point champion any given year.
At one point.
He could be. He was before.
Well, the key to all that was James Harden, I think. I think the key to making Brooklyn work was James Harden because somebody had to take the lesser role. And I think James was the one that put his pride aside and said, I'll be the guy that sacrifices stats to win. And even though he's still getting 20 a night but now he's legitimately getting 10 to 15 assists a night. Now he's being the initiator, which he's always been. But in Houston, he was the initiator and the scorer. He had to put up numbers. Now, I mean, James doesn't have to necessarily score. And then when Kyrie and Kevin sit, it's okay, now it's James time and it's the pick and roll game. And if you play too high on the screen and he nudges you, that's a foul. If he gets to the basket and he rakes up, that's a foul. Or he just has a lethal floater. And then if you stop him there, it's DeAndre Jordan or Blake Griffin dunking on the lob. So yeah, I think James Harden was the key. Man, I didn't think he would do it, but he did it.
No, the Suns fans saw firsthand that he can beat you by himself. He literally doesn't need his other Avengers.
Yeah.
Doesn't need them.
He did it by himself.
Take the night off, Captain America, Take the night off, Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
I'll do it all myself as Iron Man. This dude is nuts. We were up 20-something on them, and he didn't have Irving and he didn't have KD. And that's what started. That was the catalyst to their entire run they've been on. Yeah. They were having some losing games. Then they went down hurt. Then they come back on us all by Harden's doing. Beat us, and they haven't looked back, man. I'm terrified of the Nets.
It makes me think.
Bringing that up.
I want to get your guys' opinion too, and what the chat thinks. I don't know if you guys saw Charles Barkley's comments the other day that went viral about James Harden, saying that he's a better offensive player than Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan. What are you guys' thoughts on that? Because I know a lot of people that
this is about basketball. To go down. Here we go.
No, but I'm curious because where does James rank? Because to me, James Harden is arguably one of the greatest scorers ever, right? Like if you just look at it from a but we're just talking about scores. We're talking about offensive abilities. Yeah, we're not talking about overall player.
So are you talking about the quote where Kelly Oubre was saying you can't compare Jordan and Kobe to these new players because they're soft?
No, I'm talking about Charles Barkley a couple days ago. He went viral on Twitter for saying that he thinks James Harden is a better offensive player than Kobe and MJ.
Well,
And
that's a whole different story.
Yeah, I'm just curious to see what everybody else thinks because, I mean, you know, I didn't get to watch a lot of MJ. You know, I was born in 93. So, I mean, I missed it. But I got to see a great chunk of Kobe's career. But obviously, I know what MJ means to the game and what he brought. But when you look at James Harden, I mean, and I get the rules are different. It's more catered to offensive scorers these days. But do we think that James Harden couldn't do that in the 90s, though?
Good point. It was much different.
I don't think he could have.
Let me go first. Let me go first, and because Gary is going to blaspheme. Okay, he's about to start talking shit about Michael Jordan, and I don't know how much of that I'm going to be able to handle, but it's coming, like winter. All right, so I'll go first. I think James Harden is better offensively than both of those players. Maybe not Kobe, and I'm the biggest Jordan fan ever. I think Jordan is the clear-cut GOAT. I think LeBron is, like Skip Bayless says, the phony GOAT. All right. And Kobe, however, was better offensively than Michael Jordan. So I like to do 2K ratings because that makes it real clear cut. Okay. So offensively, Michael Jordan, in my opinion, is like a 97, 98. Kobe's like a 98, 99 offensively. Jordan, however, is like a 96, 97 defense. And Kobe is like a 80, 82 defense.
Really? Kobe was a great defender.
He was, but
I mean, how many all NBA defensive teams did Kobe make? I mean, he was up there. I would say at least 5.
He didn't seem like he was even close to well known as for his offense. And that was the whole thing is, well, you can't compare the two because Jordan was an 8-time, 9-time all defensive, blah, blah. I don't know. Maybe 82 is too low. I'll give you that. We'll say.
I would say like 90.
We'll go 90. That's exactly where I was going to go. So we'll go 90. Still,
hey man,
90 is not 97, 98.
Real quick, just to piss you off a little bit. Imagine if Kobe had Scottie Pippen, who could play defense on the actual best defender on the other team, and then Kobe got to play defense on whoever else.
You're
then
right.
Who would be better?
You're right. He didn't have that. He only had, in my opinion, the second greatest basketball player of all time, Shaq, in his prime, ripping off rims like Donkey Kong. Okay, and shitting other players out of his asshole for breakfast. Like it was, dude. He had the greatest big of all time. I don't want to hear that Pippen was better than Shaq.
He had the greatest big, but he didn't have the equivalent of somebody guard. So like in Kobe's era, let's say he didn't have somebody that when they played the Rockets was going to guard McGrady and he could go guard whoever else. He didn't have somebody that was going to go guard Iverson and he could go guard the second best guy. Like, I'm not saying Jordan never D'd up the best players, but I'm saying like a lot of those Lakers matchups, Pippen was on Magic. A lot of the Pistons, like you can just go down the list and it's obviously things rotate and you're dipping into eras where they had to play man-to-man. So things are coming off of screens is where you're getting switches. You're not getting the rotations and things you get now. But that's not saying Jordan's a bad defender. I'm just saying you're trying to compare different things, and most people compare them based off of what they like. I like this guy, so I'm going to tell you why he's better. I don't like this guy, so I'm going to tell you why he's worse, instead of just being completely realistic with, like, let's take Harden, because we haven't talked about Harden yet. His step backs would be a travel if he played with Jordan in that era. He wouldn't go to the line every time he does the flop when he
because you were allowed to slap at the ball back then,
Kevin. Right? You couldn't do all the Euro stepping and everything else. So I mean, the styles I don't think were. I mean, having said all that, you could put Jordan in right now, and he's dominating right now. He doesn't need to alter his game.
Jordan would probably be averaging 35 points a game in today's NBA.
Yeah,
I don't think that's saying too much. And 35 is. I don't think anyone's averaging 35 right now.
I mean, let him do all the things that he couldn't do. Let him Euro step 13 steps. Let him get calls like LeBron and Harden and KD get. Let him take crab dribbles and 4-step backs and things like. I mean, you just didn't see that in the 90s, and people played defense. Like that's part of the thing, man. Where I don't get mad at guys that get criticized like Harden for not playing defense. It's like you can't. You cannot. You can play defense on, let's say, Cam Johnson, right? And they'll let you play defense on him. But if you line up to play defense on LeBron or Harden and you get too close, he's going to the line. So it's like, why am I going to waste my energy fouling out when I can just stand there, hopefully get a loose board? But if not, I'm going to go down and I'm going to put up 50 a night if I want to. Like, that's the game. That's the way they've made the game. Like, you guys talk after a lot of them Suns games about the refs, and you're 100% right. But it's not just your game. Like, I'm sure you're like that with Denver. I'm like that with – I watch a lot of games. So, I mean, I'm like that with every game. Like, I just can't believe the way the officiating has changed the game. Aside of the rules, you know, a lot of the rules are different. But it's just it's so hard, and it's like it's not frustrating, but it's really, really hard to compare guys, especially when they straddle errors. It's hard enough to compare guys because styles are different. You know, like if we were to sit here and say who's better between KD and Harden offensively, it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, are we just saying can score anytime they want to score? Like, I think KD, it doesn't matter where he's at, he can score.
Yeah. I think
Harden's
KD's the greatest scorer ever, honestly.
Yeah,
KD?
I don't think there's ever been a guy like him
I
in
don't
the league
disagree with that.
who's a 7-foot guard, can pull up from 30, get to the rack at any point. And he's at a point where at his game where he's taking it to the post too. And he's so efficient. And literally he can just go at any time.
So we'll just go offensive only. I say Kobe, Harden, Jordan. Offensively only. Overall, Jordan, Kobe, Harden.
Sure.
You guys both agree? Or, well,
I would say Jordan. I would take Jordan scoring wise over both of them.
But see, Kobe had that range, and Jordan only dabbled with it like one season. And like
I feel like Kobe
playoffs.
got the range. Yeah. But
Yeah, Kobe developed it.
Kobe had
exactly
the same shooting ability from behind the three-point line with 2-3 hands at his face that Jordan had on the fucking post.
That's where I think Kobe is the greatest at something ever. Like, not even close.
Shot.
Yeah, you could have all 5 guys and 2 guys off the bench helping put a hand in his face, and it was like he was shooting a wide open free throw. It was just insane. I mean, that was later in his career, but I never saw anybody just knock down shots with zero problems with multiple people in his face.
Yeah, I totally agree. Man, Steven, if you have to go at any point, let me know, man.
Yeah, I could probably do like 10 more minutes.
No problem, man. Whenever you got to go, it's all good, dude. We're chill around here. So, well, I mean, that's some good talk. Like, you guys got anything else to go on? I mean, your guys' teams you want to talk about, the moves they made?
I mean, we could talk about just how great Jokic is. No, I'm just playing.
I'll talk Jokic, man.
I don't disagree.
Salty is the biggest Jokic fan. Dude, he will not shut up about Jokic.
He's really taken a jump, and it's funny because when you watch, as a Nuggets fan, when you watch Jokic play, because it was literally just 2 years ago to where it was like, man, this guy has so much potential, but for him, it just wasn't. He wasn't aggressive. He would just never do it. He had it. He just wouldn't do it. With Jamal, it's consistency. Can you do it every night? Jamal has that aggressiveness. Yeah, but I mean, it's just. With Jokic, he's like, he just wouldn't care. Like, he would just, I don't know if I want to play tonight. Now he's gotten to a point to where, and I think a lot of it has to do with he's taking care of his body. He's invested in the offseason because last year when he signed the max deal and he came back after that playoff series against the Blazers, he came into media day 300 pounds. And, you know, his muffin top was bulging through the sides of his jersey. And this guy wasn't ready. And it's like, wow, you just signed this guy to a max deal. He's not ready for this at all. And then he lost 25 pounds in the middle of the season. And then he's come back and now I joke a lot about Embiid and, it's not even close. It's close. But I just think for me, he dominates the game in so many different ways. And I mean, he's already got 50 plus triple doubles. He's already top 10 in NBA history in that. And I can tell you, he's missed at least 20 triple doubles because he was 1 assist shy. Like, he's at least missed 12 to 15 because he's 1 assist shy because guys on the Nuggets can't hit open shots consistently.
Who would you rather have, him or Embiid?
I think Jokic. I just think he dominates in different ways, in so many different ways. He's one of the best playmakers. Yeah, well, and that's it too. It's availability. You can't count on Embiid to be available.
Yeah.
You can't. Now,
so does everyone agree? I mean, does everyone agree that Jokic is the best center in the NBA? Do you guys think that?
I don't think so. I mean, I think nationally, if you asked, I think a lot of people still would think Embiid because he's the more physically gifted player. I think, he's athletic. He looks the part of a real NBA star. Jokic doesn't look the part. I mean, his signature move is that little look away dribble and the awkward step back. But when it goes in, it's cash, and it's like reminiscent of Dirk Nowitzki, of his shot. I would just take Jokic because I think he's the better playmaker. He's got some of the best IQ among the NBA right now. I would put him up there with guys like Chris Paul, LeBron James in decision making. I mean, we all know what he can do as a passer, but he's a 3-level scorer. I think his defense, a lot like the narrative on Jokic's defense is he's not a good defender. But if you watch the games, he's not a rim protector by any means, but I can guarantee you he's going to get 2 or 3 steals or swipes a game. And it's going to come at clutch times. And he does it. He's an excellent rebounder. I mean, he's just not athletic.
The way you're describing him in his early years really did sound like DA. And I think I think I might be actually right about this. Like I've always said that DA just doesn't work hard enough in the offseason, and he doesn't have enough cardiovascular strength. And so what I see in myself personally, do you play, Steven? Do you ever so you hoop, right?
Yeah.
So when you're out there and it's been a while and your lungs go or your legs go.
Heavy legs, yeah.
It's no longer about want to. Of course you want to stop this guy who's cooking you. Of course you want to. You can't. You don't have it within you. And that's what I think it was with your guy, Jokic. He was fat and he didn't have the wind. Yeah. But it's the same thing with Ayton. He just doesn't. I can't picture Ayton ever being the type of dude who's running down the street sweating like Embiid in the streets of Philly.
Yeah.
You just never hear about it. You never see a single workout video. He's never on the treadmill. You never see anything like that. I think that's what it is. I think it's not want to, it's can you, because you don't have the wind.
Yeah.
And now Jokic plays himself into shape. Kind of the way Shaq did and the way Chuck would.
Well, now he's in shape, and I think it was a good thing that the bubble happened because there was such a short time that he couldn't go back to Serbia and get fat. But I'll be honest with you, I think he's past that at this point in his career. Now he's investing in his body, and now he actually cares about it. And, one thing that, Malone compared him to, Michael Malone, was, and Gary could probably speak about this being a Spurs fan, he thinks Jokic is the Nuggets version of Tim Duncan. He's a humble star who just works hard. He's not saying that he is Tim Duncan, but just of that mold of a star he's not all about me. He just goes out and he plays the game the right way. He wills his team when he needs to, and he's just one of those guys you want to build around. He's the ideal star, not selfish, wants to win, is all about the team. That's who you want. So I like Embiid. But
so you're offering him for Ayton?
Shoot.
Perfect. We'll take him. Sold.
Shoot.
Stop selling me. Now, anyways, man, where can they find you, Steven?
You could find my shenanigans on Twitter. I mean, that's where I really get wild. At Stephen Priest Jr., STEPHEN, priest like a church priest, and junior. That's where I get wild. That's where you can see me, melt down about the Nuggets and make fun of the Broncos, even though the Broncos they're actually making good decisions this offseason.
Right. You guys got my Kyle Fuller.
They might be something this year, but I'm not hope. I got to see what Drew Lock does. Hopefully we can get Trey Lance or something in the draft.
So you guys can find Spurs fan Gary right here in the chat most nights because he deactivated his Twitter. But no, man, we appreciate you coming on and talking LMA, even though you kind of crushed my spirit about him coming to the Suns. But yeah, man, you guys can follow me at Suns Valley Pod if you don't mind. We're growing. This is probably, the guys have been saying it's the fastest growing Suns podcast. I would never say that, but that's what people are saying. Okay.
That's what the streets are saying.
That's what the word is. All right. It's not coming from me. So if you guys don't mind, give us a follow, hit the like button before you leave. If you've forgotten to, hell, leave us a comment when it's over. That really helps with the algorithm and we appreciate it, man. Signing off. Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Spurs fan Gary. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, Salty. Suns Geek. Fake Suns Geek. Appreciate you. Fake Tori from Blazers Uprise. Thanks for coming out. Iverson Vlogs, Burner, everybody, man. We will see you guys after the next game. I believe the Suns play tomorrow night. We'll see you then, guys. Thanks for coming out.